And welcome to the No Something Required podcast, a podcast where we talk about nothing. And now your trio of host with another exciting topic for you this week, starting with Audrey, sus as hell, and I really do mean sus as hell, Ember, and of course, your hostess with the mostest, Romina with the good hair, and your dark lord of the interwebs, Roberto Blake. Welcome to the No Something Required podcast, filmed in front of a live YouTube audience. Please like, subscribe, and review.
What just happened? What was that?
Countdown.
We were like blacked out for like 30 seconds.
Yeah, no, it's a countdown. It's a StreamYard has a countdown feature, and Romina just decided that she was just gonna like spring that on people. So
I was not prepared for that.
Good.
Well, of course you were. It gave you 30 seconds.
It's an element of surprise that lasts 30 seconds.
I don't know. We can't even talk during the countdown. We have to watch the countdown to our own show.
So tonight's episode, we teased this, I believe, last time, is about the American dream. Does everyone want to go in a circle and define what the American dream even is?
Freedom.
Barbecue. Oh.
I don't know why Romina are in this mood today.
No, in all seriousness, barbecue. Yeah.
I agree with that.
No, you can't. You already decided on freedom. Yeah, I think that. All right. So in all seriousness, because Roberto's not having any of this nonsense. In all seriousness, I think that the American dream is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Literally. I mean,
you're not wrong.
So that includes having the freedom to choose from the many opportunities available, and to have opportunities and to make opportunities. That is the American dream for me.
Audrey?
Yo, I feel like I'm being quizzed. I don't like this tone.
I liked Romina's answer. I don't know. I think American dream is opportunity. That's my answer.
All right, so interesting, but those notions, those are not bad. It's a little, it feels like it's very vague because, and the reason I'm bringing it up is because everyone says the American dream is dead. But how can we say what opportunity, if you're in America or were born in America or you presently live in America, and if you both are saying it's opportunity, the ability to pursue happiness and liberty and so on and so forth, then one, okay, well, how do we measure that you've achieved the American dream? And then what opportunity do people not have? If people are saying the American dream is dead, which I don't agree with, well, like what opportunity, if you're born in America, and let's assume that like the far majority of Americans that you are completely physically and mentally able, and you're born in America, what opportunities don't you have? What opportunities and rights and liberties don't you have?
All right. I don't know about don't have, but I think we have a lot of opportunities that sometimes, like living here and growing up here, people don't realize, like on the grand scheme of things. It's a lot of other places around the world. But do I think the US is perfect? No. But there's still a lot of
Utopia is a scam. Nothing's perfect. Utopia is a scam.
Okay. What is that ringing sound? That's definitely
it's the coil whine from my M1 Apple Mac Mini, which is really annoying as hell, which is why when I mute myself, it goes away. So it's literally just coil whine, and it's just because like to do everything that I'm doing, using my Mac Mini, unless I want to literally take these two USB cords and plug them into my MacBook Pro instead and run everything from my MacBook Pro. I have to put up with it, which is really, really annoying.
So I think something that
take
is
it to the Apple Store, and I'll just get them to deal with it.
Something that's brought up in the chat is, what if the American dream won't actually make you happy or fulfill you? And my argument to that is, does it need to? Why does the American dream have to?
That sounds like less of a problem with the American dream, and that sounds like for any individual that becomes a you problem. Like,
right. I feel like happiness and fulfillment is something that comes regardless of your physical location.
That's a person's individual responsibility. It has nothing to do with like whether the American dream exists or is valid. It's like, because to our friend's point, you could achieve it and still not be happy. So if people are feeling some kind of way about their life, that's kind of a you problem thing, in terms of people are pursuing things thinking it'll make them happy, when it's like, okay, well, who told you that and why did you listen? That's on you. In terms of the American dream, the Oxford Dictionary defines the American dream as the ideal that every citizen of the United States of America should have an equal opportunity to achieve success and prosperity through hard work, determination, and initiative.
Hey, I said those things.
Yes, but my problem with it,
words.
well, when it says every, and then you have to say, well, how do we measure that everyone has that opportunity? And the thing is, that's why I asked, well, what is it that people think that they're not being allowed to do? Because you're allowed to do and pursue those things. You have the opportunity. I think people mistake the opportunity to do something for their ability or capacity to do and achieve something. And I think that people are projecting their lack of capability and their lack of ability to the word opportunity, where the opportunity exists. The fact that you don't qualify for the opportunity is not pertinent to whether you have the opportunity, meaning that everyone has the opportunity to do this if you meet the requirements is not unfair. That's not unfair. That's not unreasonable, because in life, you have to be capable of things at some point in order to be able to achieve and to obtain. And you can't just arbitrarily decide it's unfair. And let's use an example. The American dream typically for most people represents having home ownership, a nice house, a job that provides a good income, and the ability to travel from time to time, and the ability to support a family of 2 children. The ability to support a family of 2 children in America, in a good house, and again, you don't have to have a good house that costs $500,000 or $1 million, and you don't have to live in New York or California. The opportunity exists to have that by living in places like Georgia or Texas or Florida or North Carolina, South Carolina. The median home price in a lot of those places, the median home price is about like $300,000 in those places. People say, oh, well, that's outrageous. It's like, but that's not the price of a starter home per se. That is like the median, which means there's more affordable houses. Well, oh, how would I put 20% down? That's $60,000. Who the hell has that? It's like, well, you don't put 20% down. You can put 3.5% down. You can do something reasonable, and you can get into a house for $10,000, and you can work a reasonable job. To work a reasonable job that pays a good salary, one has to not drop out of high school, one has to not get a frivolous degree, and one has to have the skills, capability, either a true career or a trade provides you with a good income job. An entry-level job has never provided anyone with a good lifestyle. That's never been true in the United States of America, that a job where you compete with a 16 or 18-year-old, or if you stay at the same job at the same place since you were 16 years old, you probably don't. That has never really been true for the most part for the majority of Americans to ever have historically produced a really great outcome or given them the American dream. Everyone knows what jobs pay $55,000 a year or more. You qualify for them or you don't. We don't need to lower the goalpost, and we don't need to take a job that pays $8 an hour and all of a sudden turn it into a job that pays $25 an hour. That is ridiculous. You can qualify for a job that pays $25 an hour, because that would mean you have a higher level of ability than you once had, which means that you grew the hell up and you have better abilities than you did when you were 18 years old.
I think that it's not so much that anyone can be successful, so much as anyone has the opportunity to be successful.
That's what I was trying to nuance. Yes.
What about the equality of opportunity part.
How don't we have equality of opportunity? Again, assuming that you do not fall into the far minority of the extreme of being physically or mentally handicapped. Who doesn't have equality of opportunity? People come to this country not speaking English and outperform people who've been here the whole time.
Yeah, I still think like and I don't know if this can really be changed. I don't think it's possible for everyone to have the exact same starting point, or if that even makes any sense. But
it wouldn't matter if they did. It wouldn't matter if they did. They don't have the same ability, the same aptitude, and the same potential. You'd still have people who come out further ahead. There were plenty of kids who were privileged.
I think that's really like the question to ask is who doesn't have the opportunity?
I grew up in a single parent home, child of divorce, at an income level that, according to the U.S. government, for the size of my household, would have represented poverty. I beat kids on third base who grew up in houses where their combined income was over six figures and lived in a gated community. I beat those people in life. You can say I'm an outlier or an exception, but the things that allowed me to be quote unquote outlier and exception were not exceptional. And out of the 12 ways that you can typically measure how disadvantaged or underprivileged you are, I qualify for about 8 or 9 of them. So, and the thing is, however, not everybody, even in the same household, will have the same capabilities and outcomes, and so it's not predicated on starting point. Everyone makes that assumption that if you started out everyone equally, that they would end up with equal outcomes, and that's not true, or even similar outcomes, or that the outcomes would not have a significant gap or disparity between them. What they want to call inequality. And the thing is, inequality is a byproduct of our individual differences in ability, aptitude, curiosity, and interest. Even if you have the same starting point for everybody, Audrey, if somebody decides to get a job, there's a limit to what a job or a career might be able to do. But if somebody decides to become an entrepreneur, an influencer, a YouTuber, they don't have the same ceiling as somebody who decides to work a job. Now, do they?
No, I agree. I just think there are, it can be harder to get to certain points. Like what Brian said, with like how there's, it is definitely up to aptitude a lot of the time. But, if someone starts at a higher point, it is, and they have good aptitude. Then
that's a lot of ifs, though.
I know, but it still happens.
And a lot of them still lose. There's no scenario, no conditions of your birth, no conditions of your circumstances that are so permanent or immutable or unassailable that we can say you are guaranteed to have a good life in perpetuity, that you permanently will have a good life. There's no set of circumstances you can be born into, even in America, that guarantee you a good life.
I don't see why getting a head start is a bad thing. For example, if I was in...
Well, they say it's a bad thing because it's unfair to the people who didn't get one, and that's kind of silly.
Right. Because like if you're thinking about like in a race or a marathon, like if you're thinking about that sort of thing where the linear aspect of it is important, then I could see where it's like, okay, that's not fair. Like this guy got to start running, 5 minutes before I did, right? That might not be as fair. But if we're talking about something like education, or we're talking about being born into a wealthy family, or having some kind of nepotism, like even, that does not equate success. That does not equal success. And I feel like life is nonlinear, right? Where it's just like we are presented with opportunities in different moments and stages of our lives, where it's like where an opportunity is presented to someone when they're 18, that same opportunity might be presented to someone when they're 43. And then they might get it further ahead. And it's just like, that's just the way that life works, is that it's nonlinear.
I think that you brought that idea up, that life is nonlinear.
Yeah. So I feel like having like a head start is irrelevant to me. Like, especially for me, it's been irrelevant because I had a lot of great opportunities when I was younger, but I didn't know how to use them. And so because of them, I'm starting off later in life, as opposed to other people who didn't have the same opportunities, but got further ahead.
What's a better unfair advantage? Being born with money, being born rich and stupid, or being born brilliant and poor?
I feel like having brains is probably more useful long term.
And statistically more likely to produce a better outcome.
Mm-hmm.
If you're born rich, everyone wants to think being born rich and stupid would work for them and that they could just, but they neglect that the fact that it's like you could be born rich and stupid, and then you can end up like a lot of the child celebrities where they weren't born rich and stupid, but they didn't have good habits, good character, good people around them. They had entourages of people who siphoned them dry, lawyers or accountants who siphoned them dry, or they got sucked into scams or Ponzi schemes, ruined their reputation, drained their bank accounts, any number of things. You could be rich and not educated or make very bad decisions, gamble with your money, have bad relationships and have people rip you off, steal from you, scam you, grift you, any number of things. Or you could be like some of the child stars. You can get all this money. Your parents can throw away all of your money and destroy your career. It's not the most advantage. It's like, it's an advantage, but it's not even the best card or best hand you could get is not being born with money, or even having a windfall or having financial success is not the best card you could draw. The best cards you could draw have more to do with your individual capability, your natural gifts and talents, but also good judgment. Good judgment and being a good judge of character in particular would be the thing that disproportionately would make you more advantaged than somebody else, even if they had money, because anything you earn, if you have good judgment and if you have high aptitudes and high intelligence, you have a better chance of keeping it and you have a better chance of growing it. Somebody who starts out with money but does not have good judgment and good character inevitably has a higher chance of losing anything they have, where you only stand to gain.
Do you feel that the phrase "the American dream" is still relevant today?
I think it is. I think the biggest problem is that people are not held accountable to having a vision for their life, having a plan for their life, and having a strategy for their life and playing it almost like a video game and having a strategy. Because people do not, if you ask a person, what skills do you plan to have 5 years from now? They don't have an answer for you in terms of what new skills and new abilities they plan to have 5 years from now. If you ask them, who is going to be in your network 5 years from now, and what type of people do you need to have in your network, and are you going to have, and what are you going to do about it 5 years from now? They can't tell you what their plan for having a network is 5 years from now. They can't tell you what their skills and abilities will be 5 years from now. They can't tell you what their career portfolio and their next career move looks like 5 years from now, which means they're not acting intentionally, and they're not acting with a plan, and they're not acting with a strategy, and they're not acting with a win condition. And it means that people have wishes and dreams. They don't really have goals, that they have an actual plan and a set of actions to achieve. They can't tell you, if you ask someone on the fly, what's the bad habit you know you need to drop today? What's the 3 bad habits you know you need to drop? And what's the 3 good habits you know you need to adopt? And when is it going to happen? They don't have a real answer for you most of the time, which means they're not acting intelligently, and they're not acting intelligently in life. And then they're complaining about a bad outcome. If you play a game without a plan, how are you expecting to win? You're leaving it to chance. That's why people believe in luck. And they believe in luck because they don't have a game plan. They treat life as a game of chance instead of a game of skill.
Yeah, I think when you I don't want to bring social media. I don't know. When you see stuff on social media, it looks like people have stuff happen overnight. I can see how people get frustrated, but it's not.
But that's them not knowing. But that's them not knowing. That's like people. That's like when both of you, that would be like somebody. That would be like somebody looking at everything the 3 of us do and have achieved or whatever, and assuming that that's something that just happened. And then the reality is, it's like, oh, gee, it must be nice or whatever. It's like, I made 1,500 videos. I didn't go viral. I made 1,500 videos. And it's like, I was making videos before YouTube existed. I I put up with shit from people for going to community. Oh, it must be nice not to have student loan debt. It wasn't nice for more than 10 years to have everyone give me shit for going to community college and looking down on me, only for it to now be a trending conversation of, oh, wow, you were really smart. But y'all didn't think that for 10 whole years when you were bullying me for it.
I was literally just talking to a friend who said she regretted not going to community college because she didn't want, or because of like the, I guess, like stigma attached with going to community college right out of high school, but now she's like severely regretting it.
That's people's problem. They make choices based on status games, Audrey, instead of on their what's in the best interest of their overall life plan. They base it on status games and stigmas and judgment instead of facing and commit to a decision that's in your best interest on principle, facts, and with courage.
But it's also
not
just
easy.
because like everyone was doing the same thing. So
Oh, you mean peer pressure? So it's like I should ruin my life because people are gonna bully me. Like,
well, I mean, I guess when you see everyone doing the same thing, I think the reason why she decided not to go to community college was because she figured she'd be fine because everyone else is doing it.
everyone else isn't fine though. I thought everybody wasn't doing fine.
When you're in high school, you know, you're 18, man. Like, I don't know, you see everyone doing the same thing.
Well, then that seems like it's
Then don't never complain about the 1% if you're doing 99%
No,
shit.
she's not complaining. She
I
was
know,
kind of
not
just sad
now.
looking back. Yeah.
No, not now. And
No,
sad looking back.
but sadly now
whoever.
she regrets.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that seems like a bigger problem, right? Where it's like we should be addressing that sort of mindset from an early age, right?
Yes. That is a whole other.
But I think it's down to, it's like if someone says, it's like, okay, and I'm not telling 18-year-olds to be geniuses and brilliant and all these things or to have their whole life mapped out, but I will remind people that up to about roughly 100 years ago, you were like an adult at 15, you know? If you were an adult at 15, you were, you were lucky if you were going to live to 50 or something like that. You knew you were going to have to take on the responsibilities very early in life of a household. You can go into the military back then at I think 16 years old. You we've infantilized people, and at 18 you're expected to have the maturity to vote for the leadership of this country, to have the ability to serve and die in the armed forces of this country, are allowed to operate a vehicle, tons of machinery on the road, and you're expected to have the judgment and capability for that. And I'm not suggesting that you absolutely have the ability to make all the best judgment and all the best life decisions in the world. But the thing is, what did you what did you expect? You want to be called an adult and you have all these privileges and all of these rights, and you're like, yeah, I'm an adult, I can make decisions for myself now. But you don't want to be held accountable for the decision of making things that will impact your life for decades and decades and decades. But you are allowed to do that. Everyone thinks, okay, I'm old enough now to make my own decisions. I'm old enough to have sex. I'm old enough to do this, or I'm old enough to drink. I'm old enough to do this. I'm old enough to do that. But you don't want to be held accountable for your financial decisions in life. You don't want to be held accountable for the choices about your lifestyle. That doesn't seem congruent. That doesn't seem consistent. Even people at 16 want to have a voice and tell everyone how to live their lives, be an activist, tell us how the world's supposed to work, tell people whether they should have children or not, tell people about the environment, tell people how much money they should be allowed to have, tell people who should be the president, everyone can have these opinions. 16, 18 years old, they can have these opinions, but they can't take any responsibility for the way their life turns out. Something, great power, great responsibility.
I feel like the thing with the American Dream is like anything else. Like, it's not a black and white answer. The American Dream ties into the US as a whole and the experience of living here. So are there things that could be improved? Yeah. But I still believe in the American Dream as a general concept.
Do you believe that it's achievable or attainable for the far majority of people who, again, are not having the outlier case of some massive disadvantage through a disability? Do you believe that for the majority of people who are perfectly healthy, that the American dream is attainable? Both of you? Question for both of you?
Yeah.
Do I think that it's still attainable? Yeah.
For the majority of people who are not, again, radically disabled.
We're not. Right.
Right. Then we mostly agree on that. I don't know if most people listening to this, I don't know if they'll agree, because their answer will be, well, I don't have it. But here's my thing. And this comes from some of the immigrant culture, the immigrant mentality, is because we figure this out and we're taught about this. And the thing is, I think most of the problem with people not attaining the American dream is they don't have a definition of what it means for them. And then they don't have a reasonable plan for it. Because if you told me, and this is the difference between people who have goals in life, people who are teenagers who tell me that they have a dream and they tell me they want to work at a company or they have a very specific goal, and that when I ask them, well, what's your dream school that you're going to? They tell me what their dream school is. And I go, okay, and why are you going there? Well, because it gives me the best chance of my dream career, which is not a job. People's dream is not to work at the gas station, the liquor store, or the checkout counter, or the restaurant up the street. That's not their life dream. That's where they end up. And it's usually because people don't realize jobs are not meant for you to have your dream lifestyle. They are a transitional thing. They're supposed to be transitory, like inflation. They're supposed to be transitory, and they are supposed to be something you do at the very beginning of your life when you have the least amount of skills, ability, and you don't know what to do with yourself. You're supposed to be able to do this, have some form of income and resources to begin to
it is a way
gain
to contribute to society.
But also by gaining experience. The exchange that you're really getting is not the money you're getting from the job. It is the experience and understanding of this entry level thing. It is not there to provide for you in terms of sustenance as much as it is to provide you with experience. And it's doing it at a low risk to society, because if you botch up this job, it's probably not going to destroy your community if you get it wrong. That's why it's low level. That's why it's entry level. And that's why it's low pay. It's low pay because it's low stakes. The catastrophe that you can cause is minimal damage. And that's really great because you're a kid. You don't know anything. And so that's why it's that. And that's why, again, if you're working at a place where you literally are competing with someone who might be 16, 17, 18, 19, it's supposed to be temporary. It's not supposed to be that you're working an entry level position for 10 years, wondering why you're just scraping by. When I was a teenager, I knew that I did not want to grow up to be the people who are there who are 30 and still working. And the people who are there who are 30 and still working, usually their husband or wife was the higher income earner. So the thing is, even with them making that, their household was still a significantly well-off household when you combine both incomes. And so that's why they were working those jobs. If they were going to be by themselves, they would have had careers instead of jobs, because the person in their household who made the most money had a career. They had a job. And that's why when I was working at the mall, the people who were there who were in their 20s and 30s, their spouse had a career, or one of them was about to, because they were doing that and they were going to school for something else. Like this one girl I worked with at the bookstore, yes, she was third key, so she was making more money than me. She was making like $8.50 an hour to my $6.50 an hour because she was third key, which is just below assistant manager. But she was going to college for phlebotomy, and she was going to go and work as a pharmacist, and she was going to make good pay. If you guys know any pharmacists, you know they get paid reasonably well. And she had a fiance, and he was also going to school. They were both going to school, and they were working BS jobs in the process of getting ready to start really good, not BS careers.
I think Andy in the chat, originally he asked what we were defining as the American dream, but we already discussed that. But he did bring up getting a house, a good job, having 2.5 kids, a white picket fence, etc. So I think it would be good to kind of jump into this side of the argument of the people who do define the American dream as being that, as being able to get a house, get a good job.
I think that's kind of outdated. I mean, maybe the core idea is like solid of like, I just think it's still like
makes it outdated.
I just think it's very like standard.
Do most people not want that though? And is that not the standard that most people use to say, "Oh, I made it" or "I got somewhere"?
I don't know.
I don't know,
I
and
feel
I'm
like
not saying
I have
it
a
should be.
couple
I'm not saying
friends
it
who, like,
should be.
I feel like I have like a couple friends who really are not interested in having kids at all. I feel like that's becoming more
Don't you think
common.
the majority of people change their mind about that?
I don't know.
Maybe I haven't.
I mean, the majority of people change their mind about that. And by that, I mean, if the majority of people didn't change their mind about that, there probably wouldn't be humans running around.
I think
It's
there's
also a lot more expensive to buy a house now.
it depends on
Only
where.
theoretically, like
Depends
it's,
on where, but
it
still.
depends on where. But the thing is, it's like comparatively to how expensive everything has gotten proportionally more or less. There are some things that definitely got ridiculously more. I'm not saying, oh, the prices are fine. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's not inaccessible. And again, you know what the proof in the pudding is? 67% of American adults are homeowners. And the thing is, as far as millennials and Gen Z who don't think they can, it's because they're grossly misinformed about the process of homeownership. Because every single person, Romina, you were there. Me and you, I co-hosted a Twitter space. Everyone in our generation and younger that I've talked to about homeownership is grossly misinformed about the process of acquiring a home and going into a mortgage. I did it last year. And again, there were things even I, with as much research as I did, was so misinformed and thought I was much more disqualified than I ever thought I was, even with my high income, even with a good credit score. There were so many things that I didn't understand. And it turns out that it's actually more accessible, especially if you don't live in New York or California. If you don't live, not everyone has to live in New York or California. My God. Like, if you don't live in New York or California, and not
moved across the country,
not everyone has to buy their forever house at the beginning. Like in South Carolina, where Mr. Beast lives, and North Carolina, where I came from, and I lived like about an hour and a half away from where Mr. Beast, grew up. We grew up about an hour and a half apart in the Carolinas, and you could get houses there. And I'm like, the house that I grew up in. You want to talk about prices? Okay, the house that I grew up in, more than 25 years ago. The house I grew up in more than 25 years ago, when my parents bought that house, it was $65,000. It's only $80,000 today. And it's a 3-bedroom house with more than half an acre of land. Great if you have dogs. And so guess what? You buy that house, you can start in that house. You can either have a home office or you can have 2 kids running around, and they'll have a great yard and a big tree to climb in the backyard, and has a shed that you can turn into your home office, or that you can use for woodworking, or where you can store boxes. It's 80,000. And the other house, the house that I grew up in as a teenager 20 years ago, the house that I grew up in when I graduated from high school, that house is bigger than that, has more land than that. And right now you could buy it, even with all the inflation, you could buy that house for $145,000. And it's a good house. And it's even bigger than the one I grew up in before that. The house that I left from in North Carolina to come here to Georgia is bigger than that. And you could get it today for $175,000.
Imagine getting a creator house and just having a bunch of creators.
I've thought about this.
And it's not in Los Angeles or New York City. Imagine.
Let's go to Montana. Let's go.
You're making a joke.
No,
creator houses are a good alternative
Montana?
For people who want the career to be in the creator.
You know how many places there are
Just
in
Montana
the United
comes
States?
over. Kansas,
No.
let's go.
Yeah, there's so many other places that you could.
What do y'all think?
Go to and be creating content with have a studio in the house
on a 7-bedroom multi-level $1.2 million mansion here in Atlanta. What do y'all think the mortgage is? I can tell you, by the way, what it is. Which would be a creator house. I'm going to use the creator house example because, like, let's say people who don't want kids, but they want to have a very they're choosing an alternative lifestyle. They chose and the career content creator. Okay, bet, creator house. This is a little different. The YouTube dream instead of the American dream. This one will excite Audrey. This will bring her to the conversation more. All right, the YouTube dream. The YouTube dream. Audrey, what do you think a $1.2 million mansion, what do you think the mortgage on a $1.2 million mansion is?
$25,000
a month? You're
Yeah.
wrong. You're wrong. It's significantly less.
What? 7.
It's about 7 or 8. It's about 7 or 8, and that includes PMI of not doing 20% down. But for a mansion, you have to do at least 10% down. You have to do at least 10% down. Now, if you were going to do 20% down, though, that's 200,000. But it's a 7-person house. If you have like 6 creators in a 7-bedroom mansion, you have 5 or 6 creators. All of a sudden, 200,000 down is not this absurd amount of money. And the thing is, you also could negotiate a deal where you may not have to put that money down. You could put 10% down, but you have to prove you have the remainder in collateral. You have to prove you have the remainder in collateral. And if you're successful creators trying to move in together, this is another reason, by the way, to just go ahead and to have a stock portfolio. Even if you're not going to buy property, invest your money in something, like that, so you grow it instead of holding cash. And so creators who do that, who invest their money and are smart, even if they're not going to buy property, if they went in together, they would be able to consolidate, probably put it in 1 or 2 people's name and work out a deal, have it subletted, and now they have this creator house, this mansion. But if you have 5 creators splitting a mansion that's costing them, let's even say the mansion was costing them 10 grand a month, they're living in a mansion. And if they're splitting it 5 ways, and it's 10 grand a month, they're spending 2 grand a month, but they live in a mansion that they're monetizing. They're spending 2 grand a month to live in a mansion that they're monetizing. And they can do that in the Carolinas. They can do that in Florida. They can do that in Texas, because 1 million doesn't get you a lot in California, and it'd be smarter.
Yep. That sounds chaotic.
But the thing is, it's actually not. In fact, in the future, if I go into creator real estate, my model would be that I'd probably just actually have a fund, and where I use, a collective's money and acquire a property. It appreciates, so our portfolio value goes up. We then lease it to these content creators who don't necessarily want to have the paperwork and the ownership. They want to rent it the same way they rent an apartment, but they get to rent it as a creator house, and we could give them some perks. And the thing is, for the investors that came in with me on the property investment, we're getting the appreciation in the equity side because we own the property. The company our company owns the property. So now we have this great business asset we can leverage, and we're cash flowing it, because if it's costing us 8 or 10,000 on the mortgage, whatever it is, we can charge the creators a little bit more of a premium than that by offering them some extra concierge services of some kind. Plus, we're getting the value appreciation of the asset and cash flowing it. So then we're doing great at that point, because even if the 5 or 6 creators are paying 3 grand a piece for this 7-bedroom, property, and it's costing us 8 or 10 grand, we're getting like 15 or 18 grand a month for it. We're cash flowing. We have that to put into another property, rinse and repeat. We're doing great. And we have a portfolio where we know this property is probably going to double in value in less than like 5 to 10 years. So that's, but okay. But guess what? The content creators get to live their version of the American dream, because for them, their version isn't home ownership. Their version is, I'm living in a mansion.
I just feel like living in a house with like 7 creators would be chaos.
It's not living in a house, it's living in a mansion.
Oh, true.
7 people living in you've seen what a 4 or 5 bedroom house looks like by coming and visiting me. And that was at the old place, and the new place is much bigger and more spacious. And you saw it. People are not exactly on top of each other if you have a 4 or 5 bedroom. You have a 5-bedroom house.
It's the same as the hype houses and all of those.
But that's what I'm getting at. It's the hype house model. The hype house model is the YouTube dream. being in a content house, being in a multi-million-dollar content house with a pool is the YouTube dream.
What?
I don't know. To be quite honest, I don't know if I would want to do that. Maybe for like a year with like friends.
Maybe if you were younger.
Yeah, I feel like I would have loved that like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
The
'cause I feel-
reality setting in.
Yeah,
I
now
feel
I'm kind of like, that sounds like a lot of chaos.
yeah, I feel like the more creator houses that I'm seeing now are all people who are like 18.
Have you guys seen the retirement house?
Tell me more.
It's like a bunch of old people. But like when I mean old, I mean like old.
Yeah, like seniors,
retirement
old?
age.
like seniors.
They're
like,
all like seniors, yeah. I don't know if they actually live there, but it's called the retirement house.
I could
They
actually
make it look
see.
like they do.
I could actually see a lot of people who are in their older years. Maybe they know that they're about to collect Social Security soon, so they know they have a guaranteed income. They've got a bunch of money saved from their pensions and their retirement. I could see them saying, "You know what? We're gonna live the good life. We're like a couple of years away from being like 60 or something like that. We're gonna get that good like Social Security soon. It's like, you know what? Let's live it up and have like."
I mean, if it's
the
a
good life.
retirement house or like
I
you
could,
know,
but I'm
a
saying if you're like
a
if you're
mansion where you get to make
if your kids have
TikToks,
moved
like,
on
I
and stuff like that, if you're if you're in your 50s, your kids have graduated, they've moved on, you've got all this money saved up, you can sell, and you're like, I'm not keeping that house, or I gave my kids the house already, or whatever. You could just take your money, take some of your investments, take some of your money, cash out some stuff. You and your friends, you and 5 of your senior friends go in and you buy a freaking mansion together to live out the remaining golden
I
years
would
of your
do
life.
that.
Like, that's not a bad play. That's not a bad play to live in a like 1.5 million dollar mansion in your 50s at like 55, 60. Know that you're going to retire, like be retired in 10 years. Your kids are already doing fine. You got grandbabies. It's like you can just go ahead and you could just live your best life for the next 30 years.
I was thinking more like 70.
Like, that's like at that point, but I'm like, you can't enjoy it as much. You might as well do it at like 55.
Mm. I wonder how old the people in the retirement house are. Hold on. I'm going to find them.
I'm
Yes,
gonna bet
Andy, the Golden Girls. Yes, the Golden Girls. Thank you for being a friend.
They're called grandfluencers. I hate that so much. Yo, they have over 1 million on TikTok. That's
I believe
I can see it. I can see it. I mean, like, I can see it. I'll
Audrey,
probably watch it. I'll probably like
Audrey.
looking,
years.
I think I follow them on TikTok.
like,
I just went
I mean,
to-
I only have 2 grandparents left. I mean, I could see people like me, like saying, I'm just like, I'm going to be old one day, or I want to see like what this is about or whatever. Oh, that reminds me of my grandma or my grandpa. Or, like, I could see that. My sister would watch stuff like that. Like, yeah. Aww.
See?
Yeah.
I got
Yeah, I
Like,
can
I
see
feel like
people
that'd
watching
be
them.
fun.
I can see people watching them in their zany adventures.
They're basically doing like Gen Z trends, and they get views just because it's funny.
I could see, but they're enjoying themselves, and they're
Yeah,
with their
it's
friends, and they're
wholesome.
having the time of their lives. Oh yeah, I love it. Having the time of their lives.
They're awesome.
Just goofing
dude.
around with your friends. Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
The neon sign.
The neon side.
No.
I love it. I love it. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you?
I would
Oh.
definitely do this.
Yeah. Is that our future, y'all? Are we
Yeah. And like, oh god. And like,
Actually,
how many years are we gonna see like Casey
they
Neistat,
did the
like,
fusion dance.
Logan Paul?
I've actually
Retirement house.
before. I had no idea, but I've seen them before.
Oh.
It's like, no, I mean, like, like, wait, are we inviting Logan Paul to our retirement house? Logan!
I'm just imagining like one of those houses in the future with all of the popular creators now. but they're just really
Imagine
awful.
all the Viners get back together. They're like, let's do this again. Let's move back let's go back to Vine Street where it all started and everything and live out our golden years. Can you imagine the
That'd be
Viners
so
all
awesome.
moving back into a house on Vine Street, the biggest house they could find on Vine Street? Be like, you know what? We're back. We're back, baby.
We're reliving the golden years, guys.
Yeah, it's time.
80-year-olds.
It's time. It's like I would go to that. I would go to a Viner reunion like that. I would do it.
A
I mean, if
Viner
they
re-
did that and they made content again, I feel like all of the entire community would be down to watch.
Actually, you know what I'm down for? I'm down for seeing Colin and Samir as old men sitting on a porch in upstate Buffalo, New York, drinking sweet tea. I'm down for seeing that.
I think Colin and Samir should interview the retirement house dressed up as seniors. Is that offensive? I don't know.
This dressing of a seniors part might be offensive, but I do think they should interview the retirement house.
Yes.
I think that'd be dope. I don't know how many views it'd get, but I'd watch it. It'd be fun.
I feel like they're decently popular. It's just like it's kind of strange and different that I feel like it'd be an interesting interview.
We should just keep on adding them in Twitter until they do it.
Just interview the retirement house like every day. We're like, why are they so obsessed with the grandfluencers?
Everyone get the grandfluencers to 10 mil in TikTok.
I wonder what they're at now.
Get them to 10 million in TikTok.
That's the goal now.
They deserve it.
I'm gonna look this up.
They deserve it.
It's our entire purpose now.
That is our goal in life now. But yeah, I mean, I can tell most people, depending on where you are in life and depending on your circumstances, again, if you have no like major disabilities or anything like that, but in particular, if somebody's like in their 20s, I can tell them exactly how to achieve the quote unquote traditional American dream. And the main thing is you have to choose, decide on a career that you're going to pursue that pays for the lifestyle you want. And so if you say the lifestyle you want is going to cost a certain amount of money, we can calculate that. There's a such thing as a cost of living calculator. You can go to nerdwallet.com, not sponsored. You can go to nerdwallet.com. You can look up any state in the country and you can basically determine what your cost of living is going to be. I would say increase that number by 20 to 30%. And I'm like, okay, that's your lifestyle. Like that's your lifestyle. That's what's going to cost you to live the life that you want. So now we've priced out the life that you want. We've like priced out the life that you want. Now we have to put it on layaway. Now we have to put it on a layaway plan. So the life that you want goes on a layaway plan. And what that looks like is, okay, I have to work my butt off to qualify to do a career / job, but it's not a job. You're not going to work a job. You're going to work a career, a profession, a vocation, a career, a trade. You're going to say, okay, here are the things that can pay somebody that much without them being at the advanced level of their profession, right? This is someone can make the lifestyle that I want, not as a beginner, not as advanced, but in the middle somewhere, right? So then it's like, okay, so how many years of work and training do I need to do to put myself in the position to get that career? Okay, and if I want my lifestyle to suck less right now, I'm going to have to make some sacrifices and suck some things up. And that's what people are not willing to do. They're not willing to make sacrifices and suck up where they are right now to get where they want to be and say, my life that I really want is on layaway. And it's a 5-year layaway or it's a 10-year layaway. But the life I want is on layaway or it's on layaway for 15 years. But I'm going to get it out of layaway. I'm not going to lose the layaway, right? So the life I want is on layaway and I'm making a plan. And so that plan is either if it requires a degree to get that job, absolutely. And there's not a lot of ways that you will regret getting that degree, then do that and do it as cheaply as possible. I recommend community college and then transfer to a university if you need to do that. Or if you can get into that career with only an associate's, do that. Or if it's entirely skill-based and you don't need a degree at all, do that. Or if you're like, I don't mind doing a trade, I don't mind doing blue collar, and you want to do that because that matches your ability, your level of ability, your intelligence, your aptitudes, or what you like doing, go into a trade that pays that, get your certifications, expand your skills, and keep skilling up. Because by the way, if your skills increase, if you learn, the more you learn, the more you earn. The more you learn, the more you earn. You want to look at people who don't earn a lot, ask them what new skill they acquired in the last year. Ask them how many skills they acquired in the last 3 years. Ask them how many new skills they acquired in the last 5 years. And you'll see a pattern between people who learn more and earn more. You absolutely will. So you get, all right, I've got the ability to have a higher income. If you want to, the part about getting married and having kids, you got to figure out what type of person you want, but you got to figure out also, hey, what attracts the type of person that I want? And, if it's superficial, make the gym part of your lifestyle, make dressing well and doing good hygiene and grooming part of your lifestyle. It's probably par for the course, man, woman, whatever. You probably, if you want to attract somebody, you're probably gonna have to do that. So it's like healthcare, personal care, hygiene, and fitness probably needs to be part of your lifestyle if you want to get married and have kids. Probably just true. So do that, stay healthy. Might be a really good idea to stay away from drugs and alcohol as much as possible for the most part, because then a lot less things are likely to go wrong at any given point in life. So, okay, you do that. You get yourself into a career or profession and you learn some valuable skills that make you useful. You probably can earn a decent living at that point that's proportionate to the lifestyle you want. Then all of a sudden, all you got to do is figure out, okay, where out of all the places I could want to live and that I can afford to live with the trade and career and profession that I have, let me look up pricing for that. Let me go into a house that's reasonable at the lowest down payment possible, that I still like the house, and you get into the house. And what does that look like? It's probably, if you don't go in New York or California, it will be less than $20,000. If you're like, oh, no one has that, it's like you can if you save for 3 to 5 years. Treat it like college. Treat it like college or high school. You're in for 4 years. Make a plan. You're in for 4 years to get that kind of money together and do it. As far as qualifying with credit, don't be stupid. At 18, get a secure credit card, get a bank credit card, don't spend with it, and start accumulating credit cards. Look up the credit card scoring algorithm. I promise you it's easier to beat the credit algorithm than it is the YouTube algorithm. I promise.
Wow.
And just beat the credit algorithm, which is basically, you want to beat the credit algorithm, you want a perfect credit score, I can literally tell you to get perfect credit score. Do not keep more than a 10% balance on your cards, period, end of story. Do not miss a payment ever in your life. Do not miss a payment, and do not go into collections. And don't worry about the credit card inquiries. Just worry about your payment history, your percentage utilization on your card and all your accounts. If you want to pad your utilization, get 2 or 3 jewelry credit cards. They give everyone a high credit limit because they expect everybody to get married and buy a wedding ring. So they give everybody a couple grand on that, and that'll pad your credit score. Pad your credit card utilization, pad your credit score. They do that. American Express is instant approval. Synchrony Bank is all right. And those are your credit. That's your credit card hacking 101, not financial advice. And all right, you got a credit score. You save some money. You save some dough. You don't do drugs. You don't drop out of school. You ease up on the alcohol. You put down the malt liquor, and your life turns out all right.
An after-school special.
Dang. Yeah, I feel like that's the one financial thing I really remember from my mom is don't miss a credit card payment. It's been burned into my brain.
Yeah. I mean, there's that.
I mean, there's other things, but that's like the main one.
Sure, yeah. I mean, that is one that will stick with you for a very long time. Also, another one is don't close any of your accounts. At least if you're trying to build up your credit. I mean, it gets to a point where you can, and it won't affect it as much because if you know what you're doing, then you know. But what a lot of people do is like they'll open up credit cards and then they'll have it for like the initial period where they have like a low APR, and then they'll close the account because they don't know. And they're like, oh man, now they want to charge me all this interest and close my account and then just open another credit card. That happens like first time credit card users fall into that.
Another hack for investing if you're young and all you can do is like, I want to put some money in the stocks. I don't know what to do. If you're not going to do acorns because that's playing it really, really safe or whatever, and you want to like, I'd like to make real money, I'm going to tell you a secret. You buy fractional shares of the following, 4 companies, not financial advice. This is what I would do with $100 a month. I go ahead and I split it 4 ways, and I just buy $25 of Google, $25 of Apple, $25 of Microsoft, and $25 of Coca-Cola. And I do that every single month, and that's how I spend my $100 a month to invest in my portfolio. And the reason why is because at least when it comes to Microsoft and Coca-Cola, they pay small dividends. Coca-Cola, I think, pays a slightly better dividend than Microsoft. So that's generating at least a little tiny bit of money every time you hit having a share. And so you can use that to buy more shares, or you can have it reinvested, or you can use it as just cash that you can use to deploy when another opportunity comes up. Microsoft is a company that will be around for your lifetime. Coca-Cola is a company that will be around for your lifetime. Google is a company that will be around for your lifetime. And Apple is a company that will be around for your lifetime. If I have to say 4 companies will be around for your lifetime, it is those 4 companies. And part of the reason is Microsoft has 30% of the cloud infrastructure, including providing that to the government in the entire world. And it's also on 90% of the computers in the entire world. So Microsoft's not going away. Apple is the largest brand in the world and is deployed in over 70% of American households. 70% of American households own at least 2 Apple products. So I'm not worried about that going away. Coca-Cola is about 100 years old. I'm not worried about that going away. And Google, if that goes away, again, it's another third of the cloud infrastructure, so I doubt it. So those are like the 4 companies that I can believe if they go down, America's over. If those companies go out of business, America's over, so it doesn't matter.
Just like that. So if those 4 companies go down, America's over. Is the American dream still standing?
Well, there's no America, so it doesn't matter.
What about the dream?
The dream is dead. If that's the case, if America's gone, the dream is over. So that's.
I think Audrey just saw her whole life flash before her eyes.
Right, like guys, if Google goes away, it's over. It's like just become a warlord, like.
So, do you think that Google is something that will be there through our death?
If Google is like, look, the sun. There's 2 things I believe in. The sun will come up tomorrow, and Google owns the world.
Well, okay. Now that we know what your religion is,
Google be praised.
You don't think that it's possible for Google to go away at some point?
No.
And why is that?
Again, over 30% of the cloud infrastructure of the entire internet is predicated on it. The household name and brand awareness at a global level, their technology patents in perpetuity, their AI development in perpetuity, their government contracts with the United States government and military in perpetuity, and the fact that they are the single largest overall platform holding intellectual property. I really have no reason to believe that they will go away.
What about Amazon?
Similar with Amazon. Amazon is the other third aside from Microsoft Azure. So it's Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Services, and then Microsoft Azure Cloud. That's the cloud infrastructure of the entire world, and including the majority of government contracts with regard to military cloud infrastructure for every developed nation in the world. So I have no reason to believe that those will go away, because then world governments collapse if they do not have those resources. So that's a big part of it. Not to mention it's part of the infrastructure of all the other major companies in the world, and including the majority of all of our payroll processors. So our entire financial infrastructure is predicated on those 3 companies existing.
I just like being the devil's advocate here because it's fun. But I will ask you one other question. What about Facebook? Sorry, Meta.
Meta, Meta, everyone is like really bearish on Meta, but that's from a Western lens and an American lens, because all the politics and all the stuff with Meta, no one outside of America, the United States, and Canada gives a shit. And you have to remember that they own WhatsApp, which is the global, probably the single largest global communications platform that exists right now in terms of WhatsApp, especially outside the Western world. Billions of people in Asia and India using it specifically. So as long as that's true, I have no reason to believe that they're in the jeopardy that people think, no matter how much money they're burning in valuations. But that's just like the West. And by the way, the future of expansion,
Going anywhere.
Hmm?
Meta's not going anywhere.
Not in my opinion. Besides, the Western market has already been saturated. The Western market, sorry, not just saturated, the Western market has already been indexed, meaning there's no more growth potential in the Western market. The entire international market of non-Western, non-English speaking companies is the entire future. And it's billions of customers that don't care about our baggage and don't care about the political ramifications of that. So that's the future. So the thing is, there's nothing but upside. So, I mean, that's just like facts.
I love this. This is the most interesting thing to me, is thinking about the future and the different possibilities of what can and what cannot be. Will in the chat says, do Canadians and Mexicans also have the American dream in their countries?
A lot of them come here. If they do, they come here.
I'm going to say no for half of those people. I would argue Mexicans do not have the American dream in their countries.
Like this tech today is saying we'll be fine without Meta. Yeah, for the most part, but the rest of the world would want it. So the thing is, I would argue that it's more that Meta would be fine without the West. It wouldn't be in great shape, but it'll still be fine. Because a lot of people short-sightedly predicate everything on the Western market when the future is in the East, just based on user numbers alone.
Yo, I still use WhatsApp sometimes.
But if you were, especially if you were doing international, anyone you talk to internationally, and also for international travel, WhatsApp.
Hate it. It's the only reason why I have it on my phone. It's just because other people
because of the number of the other people in the world who, yeah.
Because I don't like it. I think the interface is awful. It's not user friendly.
I always get scams from them too.
What if Twitter did end-to-end user encryption on DMs and messages? And what if they also replicated the concept of doing messaging and calls? And what if Twitter came for WhatsApp?
What was the question?
What if Twitter came for WhatsApp?
I don't know. Isn't Twitter blocked in some places?
Yeah. But that doesn't mean it always will be. But that doesn't mean it always will be. Especially not with, like, Elon could maybe do something about that.
Because I mean, that's the China, like, for example, in China, it's the government.
Elon has, because of Tesla, Elon understands navigating that. I don't think it's impossible that he couldn't come to some arrangement. I'm not saying it's likely or they will. I'm saying it's not off the table. Especially if he gets to have, because think about it, if he changes the culture of Twitter and the regime changes, well, that's very different, because with the current regime at Twitter, I can see why China wouldn't be amenable to them, and vice versa. And maybe Twitter's not amenable to China and China's not amenable to Twitter. But an Elon version of it, maybe.
You really think that it would be amenable to China in that case? Because I don't know if it would be. I feel like it would go in the opposite direction. I think they'd want it even more. You know?
It depends on what. It depends on why China currently and their relationship with Twitter, which I believe is culture war stuff right now, to be honest with you. And so under Elon, I could see that being a renegotiation. I could see them altering the deal.
I feel like if he's going for more free speech, it'd be completely opposite to the.
Yeah, I don't see that.
His version, if you recall, is free speech, but it's free speech predicated by the rule of law, the law of whatever land the user is in. Because again, that's really what when free speech is still within the bounds of the law. You do not get to exceed the bounds of the law. In fact, his issue with the Twitter thing, which we could talk about that next week, but like his issue with the Twitter thing was that they were taking extra legal measures. They were taking extra legal measures that are beyond even the purview of what the government would do. And that was his issue. And also his issue with the literal gaslighting. I mean, it's and the absurdity of a lot of that stuff, and the specificity of it, and the fact that you cannot argue that they are politically neutral, and they don't think they have to be, which is a problem. And the thing is, why would a government be amenable to a communications platform that is not politically neutral and specifically has an agenda that might undermine them? It's one thing if a user is doing something and voices a dissent within the government. That's one thing. And it's one thing if a platform facilitates that. It's another thing if a platform itself or a company itself takes a stance. And the thing is, Elon is trying, I think, to set somewhat the example, and so is Coinbase and some others, of like, we serve users. We serve people all over the world with different beliefs and different interests and different points of view. Let's serve our customers, and let's not sit here and have a stance that puts us at odds with the people we need to serve by just not having one. Let's not, as a company, participate in the political process or in political agendas. Let's make our agenda and our mission serving all of our users, regardless of what their politics are, regardless of what their circumstances are, regardless of what their views are. Let's actually treat all of our users with respect and give them the best service we're capable of, and not alienate them, not judge them, not discriminate them, and not comment on things that are going to put them in an awkward position. I don't think that's such an unreasonable stance for businesses to take, to be honest with you. I think it's the appropriate one, because it's becoming a problem when you have to literally deny yourself the best resources because it's like, oh, you don't align with my politics. That's really not comfortable, and you'd be better off and better served if the company stance was, we don't align with anyone's politics. We align with the things we promised you, and we align with your pocketbook.
I feel like Twitter is a whole thing.
Yeah, no, it's its own episode. I was just bringing that, like, it would just kind of weird tangent with that. But like with the American Dream stuff, like with the stuff I went over of like, okay, if you have no massive health disadvantages, do this thing, do this thing, do this thing, do this thing, do this thing. I mean, is my like methodology some unreasonable version of attaining the American Dream?
We're both just vibing to the music.
Oh yeah, I forget that we're doing a show.
We said no for people listening. We nodded or shook our heads no. The music is really nice.
Zenbuster.
Zenbuster Music. Like and subscribe.
March.
What?
Zenbuster merch.
Oh, Zenbuster does have merch. Zenbuster.com. Buy the merch.
What?
Oh, ho. You should get
Zenbuster merch.
Zenbuster.com.
Send us some.
Oh, care packages? Yeah, I could probably do that. Oh, you saw something you like, Audrey?
She's gasping.
And I need to update the merch. There is some new
koi
stuff.
thing's cool.
Yeah, there are some new designs. I need to update some stuff.
There's no pandas.
There are. I just haven't updated the stuff. And there should be
Oh,
a
I
panda.
clicked on it.
There's a
Never
panda.
mind.
There's a panda. There should be some, yeah, there's some more stuff.
That's cute.
Yeah. Maybe we'll do an episode dedicated to music stuff one day.
We also need NARP merch.
Yeah, we do. For our few very, very loyal peoples.
I'd wear it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd wear it too.
I think the brain stuff could be interesting. I think there's interesting stuff with
You
that.
would wear NARP
I think like making a NARP brain, like but with googly eyes and like stuff like that. It's like make them all like curious explorer.
What are some like quotes that'd be funny?
We have to write them.
Yeah, we'd have to.
I can't look at the banners. I feel like we have some of the banners that are funny.
Yeah, it's not a threat, but let's go.
Yeah, that one's actually pretty representative.
It's not a threat, but let's go. We also have we do not condone the use of spicy mushrooms.
I would wear that.
Baby Yoda bad.
I think something that could be cool for NARP merch is to literally make a caricature of the brain with eyes, but then turn the brain with eyes into like all the emojis.
What?
Like make a brain with eyes and arms and legs, but you could also give it all the emoji emotions too. Like you could do, and so.
Oh, so like, for example, it could just have like the crying.
Yeah.
Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
Right on.
Can we make a melting one for that new emoji?
Oh my god, I do not like that emoji.
What? I feel like I keep using it all the time.
Yeah, I don't understand what it means.
It's so you can use it in so many situations.
Like what? Aside from like it's so hot, I'm melting.
No, it can be like something's like kind of going wrong, and then you're just like melting into a bottle, or like something's being really
I do
annoying.
think
I'm
melting
into a bottle.
Oh, you know what? I like the idea of an image with a hand holding a magnifying glass and the brain melting into the ground.
I think Audrey just wants something that's melting.
That's so specific.
I'm melting. Oh, what a world. Yeah.
I'm just imagining literally that emoji, but just as a brain. Yeah, melty brain.
We've done somewhat interview stuff before. I mean, we've interviewed each other on the podcast. I mean, this podcast I think is more similar to like the All In podcast, where it's just a bunch of besties hanging out, and I think that format works.
Besties who are thriving.
Yeah.
Specifically, Audrey's like, what? Yeah, we have done a couple of interviews, not a lot. I think it's just kind of like are you cool enough to sit with us? And that's our problem,
That's
really.
the reason.
We just don't know who's cool enough to sit with us. Viper has sat in a couple times because he's aight.
Yep.
Viper.
Are interviews something you guys want to do more, or
we could interview Heather?
I don't mind us doing that. Like, yeah, that's always fun.
How about we come in and like Audrey just prepares questions for us?
Yeah.
You can practice her interviewing skills, and then we'll take turns, and then Roberto can interview us.
About what?
I don't know. That's
whatever we're working on. Whatever we're working on. Me and Romina are both writing books. We should also talk about at some point. At some point, we should also talk about the three of us like co-authoring a book, like we talked, like that one idea we threw out.
Yeah, we have that one idea. We just have to actually do it.
Yeah, I mean, we have to execute on it, but like, I think that could be, dope, a dope project to do.
I got a whiteboard. It's a little big though.
This is
Oh,
actually
Oh wow, that is big. Mine's
live in
mine's a whiteboard on wheels. Mine's like a whole thing.
See, Brian said I have to have something to write with. I'll just use this.
Oh god.
yeah, because it's an interrogation instead of an interview.
I've always
And
wanted to
no
do an
required manual.
I've always wanted to do an interrogation skit.
Oh, with like different versions of yourself.
And no assembly required guide to life.
This is not professional advice, just right under. The unofficial guide to life. Like that we can't get canceled.
Your official unofficial guide to life.
Audrey already thinking about the liability.
Your unofficial official your official unofficial guide to life. Don't sue me, bro.
That's the whole title. I'm down. But the don't sue me bro has to be in the title.
Don't sue me, bro.
So what do we need in order to get this started? I guess we need like a Google Doc where we can all just.
Yeah, we need that, and we need like a general thesis and outline or whatever.
I mean, we
Like,
have a general.
Was that the idea last time?
I have no idea.
Just general?
Yeah, we have a general idea, but we can discuss this in the DMs.
I mean, yeah, going back to the American dream thing, I think the problem with the people not having, I think the problem isn't the American dream. I think the problem is no one has a damn vision for their life, and they don't have a reasonable plan and set of goals to help them achieve a vision in life. They just react to life and they go through things. It's so they don't have a vision. They don't have this idea of who they want to be, who they want to be with, and what they want to do with their life and what they want to experience in life. And I'm not saying you have to have all of that figured out at 18. I am saying, though, that when you're going to be an adult and you're going to graduate and you're going to go into the world, you should probably, unless you want to flounder around for 10 years and then cry about the fact that your 20s passed you by and you feel left behind, you should probably have a plan for your life, whether that's college or not college. You should say, what am I going to do to create value in my life? What is my career going to be? Stop going, oh, I guess I'm just going to get a good job and live a decent life and everything like that. No. Figure out a job as a holding place until you're able to put yourself in a position to have a career. And the problem is that people don't have a plan for a career. And so they end up stuck with a job and then end up complaining about that situation. And then they go out and they do silly things to distract them from their job. And then they end up stuck with somebody they never meant to be with. They end up with their partners largely on accident. And it's not the person they dreamed of being with or anyone that would resemble the person that they would want to spend the rest of their life with. They just do something to do it or to not be alone, or they get stuck as a result of an act of desperation, as is the reason why most of my friends that I grew up with are on their second or third marriage. So the point is, don't do that. Have an actual, here's what I want out of life. Here's what I want out of a partner. Here's what I want in terms of lifestyle. Here's what I would want for a career. And it's okay if that vision changes. It's okay if that dream changes. But it's people won't admit that they don't have a dream. They see other people's lives and say, why don't I have that? They don't have a plan.
God, plan, man. I think when I was back in Atlanta and had just met you guys, thinking about 5 years down the line felt very strange, but was definitely one of the most necessary things. Yeah.
Something that worked for you is you did know that there were experiences you wanted to have and experiences you didn't want to have. And you did make concrete decisions about where you wanted to be and what you wanted to be doing.
Which I think you kind of have to do, right? I guess you don't have to, but if you want to get closer to those things.
Or if you don't want to wake up every day going, it's I hate the things that I'm doing, but I got to do them because here I am and everything like that. It's plenty of people don't wake up every day miserable. Plenty of people actually are doing things they want to be doing, but it didn't come easy or it didn't come right away. I didn't get the life I wanted 5 years after high school. I didn't even have everything I wanted 10 years after high school, I had things I thought I wanted at that point, but I changed my mind about that too. And then I made another change. Like, that's all. Like, and I worked crappy jobs. People go, oh, it's not that easy or whatever. It's like, I worked every crappy job, and I worked for less money than people are getting today working those jobs. I didn't do food service. I did retail. My sister did food service. She worked at the Orange Julius in the mall across from when I was working at Borders and KB Toys and stuff like that. But I worked all kinds of jobs at the mall. I worked at Champs. I worked at KB Toys. I worked at Borders. I worked at Hex, which would then become Macy's because they're both owned by the May Corporation. So it's like, so I did all of those things. I sold stuff at the calendar store. I did the photo booth for Santa and the Easter Bunny. I was the Easter Bunny. I did all kinds of, Office Depot. I did all kinds of different jobs. I did Sears. I did all kinds of different jobs when I was in my teens and my 20s. And so before I was 25, I started my career, as one does. I started my career. I think I was like 23, about to turn 24 or something. I started my career. And so I worked in my career for like 6-7 years, and it didn't make me like, I achieved a lot of my goals and a lot of the things that were on my to-do list. And then I was like, but I'm not happy and I'm not making the money I want. So I made a change, and I left, and I started on my own and went my own way and ended up working for myself and being self-employed. And that turned out to be fabulously better, but not all at once. It was a struggle for a good minute until it wasn't. And the last 5 years have been really good to me. But I say that now that I only got the life that I could have only dreamed of. It took me 20 years after fucking high school. But if it's the life that you want to live, it's like, what's the problem with the fact that it might come 15, 20, 25 years after high school? What's wrong with working for the things you want for the rest of your life for 15, 20 years? What's so wrong with it? Why should you get it in 5 or 10? People have no patience. People have no understanding of the fact that it's like, maybe the life you want requires that much effort. Maybe it's worth that much effort.
True. It's not gonna happen overnight, man.
Almost.
What's the surprise?
Even the people who look up to, who they think got overnight success, didn't get overnight success. Peter McKinnon didn't get overnight success. The Paul brothers didn't even get overnight success. It just looks like it. That they didn't. They were failed YouTubers when they were kids, before Vine. They had started YouTube 3 times and failed, and no one talks about it. They've talked about it in interviews, because I've listened to interviews where they don't sound like total clowns, and when they're taking it seriously, and you find out that they're not as stupid or as bad as people think. They're human beings who are multi-layered, and their parents thought that they were going to be the meal ticket by going like to the NFL or something like that. Like, they were going to end up like, those child athletes or child stars that, go do that. Jake wanted to get out of Logan's shadow and go into the military. But Vine happened. If Vine didn't happen, Jake Paul would have went into the military, which shouldn't be a shock for he's a lot like the kids that I knew from the small towns I grew up in that went into the military. He's just like a lot of my brothers that I grew up with, like back in Bragg, that went into the military that I went to school with. It's just like those guys I grew up with. It's like, again, I'm not approving of everything he's doing the same. I didn't approve of everything they did, but it's like, but I kind of get him a little bit, because I'm like, oh, that he's no different than this guy that I knew. Same guy that just became famous instead. Same personality. But they also worked their tail off to be athletes. And the reason they could do Vine stuff is because they could do stunts. They could do physical stunts that most regular people their age couldn't do, because they were athletes. Just like the boxing spectacle stuff, not everybody can just do, you have to train. You have to work really hard. And when you don't, you get knocked the hell out. As we've seen time and time again, people think that they could just do it. And it's like, nope. No, it's not overnight. Peter wasn't overnight. PewDiePie wasn't overnight. Mr. Beast wasn't overnight. Marquez, MKBHD, he wasn't overnight. iJustine wasn't overnight. None of these people were overnight. There's really no such thing.
Go. Not everyone's gonna be like Charlie D'Amelio. But also, she put in a lot of work as a dancer before.
Yeah.
So,
And then even that, and people go and they talk about people who come from privilege. Somebody's parents or grandparents put in a lot of work for someone to come from privilege. There's no getting around it. It's nothing that doesn't come out of thin air. Somebody did some work. You can defer the work your kids or grandkids might have to do if you work really, really hard. But then that's just compound gains and compound interest. And so I don't judge people who are the beneficiaries of compound interest. I just don't. Like, good for you. Your parents and grandparents loved you more and, made some sacrifices and delayed some gratification. Wow, it would be great if everybody's did. Maybe some people should be the first. But nobody wants to be the first. That's a big problem. You want to talk about the American dream? A lot easier for everyone to achieve the American dream let me put it like this. It'd be easier for people to achieve the American dream if their parents, or if they decide to become parents, or before they become parents, just pay a little bit of extra money and take out some damn life insurance. Because you know what, you're guaranteed that you're gonna die at some point. So if you have kids, you might as well just buy one less pair of shoes, sneakers, or handbags this year, or one less video game or something like that a month or whatever, and just pay some life insurance policy. Pay your $600 a year or $300 a year, leave a six-figure life insurance policy. When you inevitably go, your kids get a significant windfall that lets them start a business, buy a house, or let your grandkids buy a business, start a house. And then at least a generation starts out so much better. No, Kim Kardashian, I get the joke, but Kim Kardashian wasn't overnight either. And even with her access to her celebrity friends and all that stuff, people don't realize Kim Kardashian was a stylist to the stars, which means I could if a lot of people we know as personal friends that aren't content creators, if they had access to celebrities or big YouTubers, it wouldn't matter. It wouldn't matter if they had this great glowing network, because they don't have any skills that those people can use and pay for. So you have to have something to offer people. You can't just be around people with money. You can't just be around people with money. You have to have something to offer them.
Yeah, there's plenty of people that I know of, even in my own experience, being surrounded by people in Hollywood, that yes, the network can get you places, but then you have to follow up with something, whether it is skill or just being attractive. That's also something that people covet, but
it's something to offer in a way.
Have unique physical features, then that's something, but you have to know how to leverage that if that is what you're going to leverage when you have the network.
There's plenty of attractive people that struggle, and people think that they have it easier. Oh, I'd have it so much easier if I was attractive. It's that presumes you know what to do with it, and that presumes that what you think is attractive is in fact attractive to the right people.
Is this the conclusion of this discussion?
Yeah, the American dream.
The solution is just be attractive.
No, you can be attractive. That's one option. Or you can be attractive, but that won't always work, because there's plenty of attractive people that have bad personalities, and then that doesn't get them anywhere. And
it might be really skillful.
And attractiveness has a limited shelf life. It's not indefinite. So it's it's
unless
not
you have that inner beauty.
Right. And here's the thing.
Through the ages.
Right. But by the way, even if you can leverage attractiveness, and even if you did leverage it and make a lot of money, a lot of people go, well, what about all these people who go to OnlyFans and they make it and they get rich in 2 years or 3 years or something like that? Okay, bet. But guess what? If you're not financially savvy, it doesn't matter. You're just a rich mark. It doesn't matter. You're just waiting to get scammed.
Who was that girl?
Or get siphoned, or get money taken from you in a divorce or something.
Did you see the Catch Me Outside girl actually made $50 million?
Daniel, Bad Baby, Daniel Bagoli? Yeah. Like 50 mil. Yeah. But here's the thing. She's had
But you leverage her 15 minutes.
here's the thing. She's leveraged for 15 minutes and she's had enough of a rough and tumble life. And yes, she has to live with being the Catch Me Outside girl forever. But the thing is, she has enough money to where she does have to be smart, but only so smart. Now, that level of money, 50 mil is where, okay, you don't have to be brilliant. All you have to do at this point is be smart enough to not get scammed and not get screwed. And that's enough. And that's enough.
Yeah.
And you will be okay. But also, she's young enough to reinvent herself.
Yeah. And the thing is, too, that she might not be exactly your taste, but she's somebody's taste, clearly. Yeah. I mean, well, the thing is that she has not just with herself been smart about her money, but she's also surrounded herself with the right kind of people who have helped her and guided her with this. But also, she's street smart. So
she's street smart. She's a hustler. She leveraged her brand. It's like, let players play, and she's a player. So she knows what she's doing to the extent that she does know what she's doing. Not everyone who's been on Dr. Phil has been able to leverage it. Not everyone who became a meme was able to leverage it.
Dr. Phil, I would argue most people.
Yeah, most people who became memes did not milk it for 40, 50 mil or even a mil because they did not have the hustle to do that and could not have the grit.
Not follow it up with the talent or the skill. I mean, look at Bad Luck.
The skill, but also the grit to just be in the public eye and take so much crap. It's not
Bad
fun.
Luck Ryan tried to come into the game like years after his yearbook photo went viral. And he started up a YouTube channel and was trying to do like the comedy thing. And it's just like, it was not working.
Alex from Target didn't leverage his thing. But you know who did? The hot felon. The hot felon is doing wonderful. Like that dude's doing wonderful. Like,
yeah. But just to bring it back to the topic, that is the American dream is, hey, you know what? They were given the opportunity and they figured out how to leverage it. And they're doing pretty good so far.
You may not get the same opportunities as everyone else, but you have plenty of them. Of them. If you're in America, one of the best opportunities would be to learn how to code because guess what? Less than 1% of the population, less than 0.5% of the population of not just this country, the whole world knows how to code. You can be an outlier. If you're in America, you have the opportunity to become a self-published author. It doesn't mean you'll be a bestseller, but you get to be the 1%. You can leverage being an author, period, for a lot. You can leverage being on platforms for a lot. And you don't have to be a successful, massive YouTuber. You could be a podcaster. You can be a Twitch streamer. You can be a TikToker if you can't make YouTube work. And if you can't even do that, you can make good money working behind the scenes for someone who can and get a really good lifestyle out of that.
And if none of those things work, then you just get on Dr. Phil.
You can do that. But here's the thing. You don't even have to do all that. You don't even have to do all that and have those high level. Because here's the thing. All anyone has to do in this country, if they want to live a good life and they're not doing it right now and they're physically capable and they have no disabilities, they can just get a trade and you can become a plumber or electrician. And I promise you, you will make a significant amount of money. Become a plumber or electrician, you will never starve. If you just want to say, I just don't want to starve and I want to have a good life, be an electrician or plumber. Be an electrician or plumber. I promise you. Electrician or plumber. HVAC repair. You are not going to starve.
Well, Audrey, if all else fails, electrician or plumber, you hear that?
Plumber. Oh, that wasn't a choice.
I mean, it is a choice because, the American dream.
True.
All right, so Audrey's going to be a plumber? I'm going to be an
I've
electrician.
actually joked about this with one of my friends that we'll just become plumbers if it doesn't work out.
Okay.
Federal contract.
I'm not dunking on
actually,
plumbers.
screw that.
I'm just saying for some reason.
Screw that. I'll just be a stockbroker.
You should be dunking on plumbers. So here's the plan. You can always become a plumber. You do that for 1 to 2 years. You build up a really strong clientele. And then you open up a plumbing business. And then you start contracting other plumbers to do the work. And you just manage the business.
Mm-hmm.
Done.
I'll open up the greatest lawn care service of all time.
Jesus.
I'm just going to become an electrician because I feel like an electrician, I earn enough skills where I can apply that to other.
I can scale a lawn care business and then just hire people to do it all for me. And then I just sit in the back office, collect money and everything like that. Then as I accumulate my funds and I invest properly, I make a lot of money investing and everything. And then from all those investments and everything and sitting on that cash, I just run for governor of Georgia.
Dang.
Well, Roberto has his plan.
I'm gonna stick to video.
Should we start wrapping this up? I do not have any more thoughts, so I don't want to keep
Brandon,
dragging it.
I can leverage the lawn care and take the money and then go into like real estate. But also I could literally set up cameras and I could literally probably milk the lawn care for viral videos of people just like enjoying time lapses of someone else doing manual labor. And then I can make money that way. I'm not joking. It's like I actually I've seen a trend on YouTube where time lapses of other people doing manual labor seems to be a fetish of some kind.
What?
Oh, you could also end up getting lawn care contracts with the state government, the city government. You could end up just managing the lawn care and maintenance of city properties and get those long-term contracts.
Australian real estate is expensive.
Oh, it's
not
expensive.
only
Look,
just the real estate,
just
but
get out
like
of Australia, come to America, come to the South.
the actual lifestyle is so expensive in Australia. Like any food, everything is just so expensive.
It's because they're on an island.
I don't live in Australia.
That's not true because
I
like
I have looked into Australia before.
it's expensive, but I'm saying it's not because they're on an island. There's plenty of islands that aren't expensive. Okinawa's not expensive, and New Zealand's not as expensive as Australia.
I just made a random guess.
All right, pressure washer business. Got it.
Higher margin, less competition. Okay.
Are you transitioning, Roberto?
Do both.
You can do both. If
I
all
think-
else fails.
I'm sticking with
If all else
plumbing.
fails, I literally can just like work at one of these social media companies. But aside from that, I probably would just try and be a stockbroker. Or I can go work for Robinhood. That. No, actually, maybe I'd just go work for Coinbase. Yeah, I'd just go work for Coinbase or something. Or one of the social media platforms.
Oh.
Yep. Anyway, let's wrap up the show. That is it for the No Assembly Required podcast, where we have literally solved all of your problems and told you how to achieve the American dream. Tune in next week for our next exciting topic or topics. I think we'll probably go back to the 3-topic format. This has been your trio of hosts signing off. Please make sure you like, subscribe, review, and do all the things. And we're out of here. See you later. This has been Audrey Sus as Hell Ember, Romina with the good hair, hiding it under a hoodie, and of course your Dark Lord of the interwebs, Roberto Blake. Thank you for the No Assembly Required podcast. Filmed in front of a live YouTube audience. We'll catch you next time. Nah.